Welcome back to Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. As always, I am Jack, and this is episode 69. Insert crude joke here. As always, I'm joined by Calvin. No beard tonight. He's abandoned us for the darts. You Hearts bastard. Just Calvin joining me tonight. So how are you, Calvin?
I'm doing fine, mate. How are you?
I'm good. It's been busy the day. Went out voting in the council election. Then I was doing my East German football podcast. So been a busy day. So this episode, we're just going to preview a double header against Aberdeen this weekend. Both the men and the women are in action against the side to the northeast, the side to the Granite City, both at home as well. Men taking on Aberdeen at Easter Road and the women taking on Aberdeen at the Spaghetti Had. But before we jump into previewing that, of course, we had two pieces of transfer news from both teams as well. So the first one is obviously Chris Mueller has departed the club on a free transfer and has gone back stateside to Chicago Fire. So very quickly, Calvin, what was your sort of reaction to that?
I was shocked, mate. I was absolutely shocked. I was really disappointed, and I think I was disappointed because I think there's a player in there. I'd definitely like to have seen him maybe get a pre-season under his belt and a couple of cup matches and all that, and see if he could really make his stamp on the team after he'd settled a bit. I feel really let down. I feel like we'll probably let a good one go. Although it seems like from what I've seen, he probably wanted to go as well. I thought Hibs were quite brutal in their statement, saying that he hadn't managed, although he trained very hard, he couldn't adapt to the physicality of Scottish football and the pace of the game. So I thought there was definitely shots fired there, and I felt that was quite maybe a bit disrespectful to Chris. But at the same time, it probably was pretty average from what we've seen in a short time with us, but I don't think we've ever seen him get out of second gear. I don't think he ever really showed us what he could do, which is why I would have liked to have held on to him a little bit longer. What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think for me, you could tell every time I watched him play, you could tell he was just struggling to adapt to the sort of pace and the physicality of the game here. It's very difficult to come from the MLS to Europe in general, not just the Scottish Premiership. I've watched lots of players, come from the MLS into the Bundesliga in particular, and they've struggled. Like Brooks as an example at Wolfsburg, he's just not adapted well at all. Adams at RB Leipzig, he's sort of struggled to sort of get his foot in the door there. So I think the problem is it takes a long time from players to the US to adapt to the game in Europe. And I just don't, men's anyway. Obviously, women's football is a different kettle of fish because the USA is a world leader. But I think with men's football, it is a difficult it's adapting to the culture over here as well. I just think Chris struggled a bit. You could tell he was maybe a bit homesick. I would have given him a pre-season. I think with a pre-season, some confidence, but the League Cup group stage would have been ideal for him. I think the Premier Sports Cup group stage would have been ideal for him. Just to get minutes in his legs and maybe just get his confidence up.
Bit of confidence.
Yeah, that's it. And I think obviously the club and him have both agreed that it was the best move for all parties. Really, from the club's side of it frees up a wage at the end of the day because we were paying him quite substantial wages. And at the end of the day, if he's homesick and he wants to go back to playing in the US, I think Chicago's closer to where his family are as well.
Aye, that's his hometown team. That's where he's from, Chicago. So
yeah, so that's it. It makes sense for me, and it's unfortunate, and maybe it seems a bit like brutal, especially like at the time it's come at. But it happened. I wish Chris all the best. He was a lovely lad to speak to. I spoke to him after the Aberdeen game just before Christmas. Lovely lad to speak to. Clearly a very motivated young man that loves playing football, and I wish him all the best back home. That's all I've got to say there, and unfortunately it didn't work out, but we'll be thankful for that goal he got us at Arbroath. That sort of settled the nerves a bit. Like I said, he'd been to the Christian Deutsch school to finish in for that one, tapping. But I think, I wish him all the best, and couldn't say a bad word about him as a person because he was a lovely guy to speak to. So, on the opposite side of that, though, one American leaves, but another one joins. Hibs women. Crystal Thomas signed on a pre-contract deal. She's come over in the summer, signed up from Orlando Pride, which is a women's MLS team, a US Women's Soccer League, they call it, team. And she's been capped by the USA at youth level, also played for Washington Spirit. So obviously, Hibs women, Calvin, have got some players tied into contracts. Now, this big new signing in the form of Crystal Thomas, who's had that experience over in the USA. So what was your reaction to that signing?
I was pretty surprised that they brought another American over, if I'm honest with you. It just shows you that we're looking in that market, we're looking further afield. And I think Dean spent a bit of time in America coaching as well, at colleges and things. He mentioned in an interview I've heard him say before. So I think that he's obviously wise to that. And I wonder if Alexa maybe had a wee hand and maybe she'd played against her or something like that in one of the games, or they might know people from the college system. And imagine all these coaches talk as well. And, it's maybe inspired her to see how well sort of Alexa's done as she's came over here, settled in pretty well, had an impact on the team. And, like you say, there's been a lot of people who have done well at Hibernian Women and went on to, greener pastures and bigger and better things. So maybe that's the route she's maybe looking for. But no, I'm definitely excited that she's on board, mate. And I would also say that Orlando Pride team she's playing for as well, that's a good team. But I'm almost certain it was Claire Emsley that had a wee stint at them.
Yeah, she did.
And she's had a good career as well, Scotland regular. So I think it's a high level we're recruiting from, and I think that's just what we need. We need more of those quality in all aspects of the pitch, especially when we're coming up against the 3 Glasgow clubs.
Yeah.
So no, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what she can do.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And obviously she's joining Leanna Hines, the Trinidad and Tobago international, signed as well. But I think, Crystal, she's a really exciting player. I'll manage to find some tapes when she played at Washington Spirit. Looks to be really good on the ball, really quick, which is what we need. I think we need that bit of pace because Alexa's not quite got that. So we need that, just sort of that extra bit of pace up front, I think. So to be fair, that's some front 3. Crystal Thomas, Ailey Adams and Alexa for next season. I would love to see that. So yeah, I an exciting signing, and I agree with you, mate. It's big things ahead for Hibs next season. Obviously, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I think it's going to be an exciting season next season. We're making some big signings, and we're getting our big performers like Leah Eddy and Mickey McAloney down on professional contracts as well. So I think big things ahead next season, and I'm really, really excited for it. So we'll now move on to the Aberdeen game. So from exciting times at Hibernian Women to not so exciting times at the men's team. Basically, this game means nothing apart from, well, hopefully get 3 points. But obviously this game means nothing. We are where we're going to be in terms of the league now. So Calvin, heading into this one, what are your just sort of thoughts? Obviously Aberdeen, we've lost both times we went up to Pit Audrey, but we've beaten them at Easter Road. We beat them at Easter Road 1-0. And we have quite a good record against Aberdeen at Easter Road recently. So do you think that sort of good record against Aberdeen and their poor form recently is going to help us out in this game?
I wouldn't necessarily say so, no. I think it'll be more of the same from Hibs. I don't think it'll be an exciting match. I'm not particularly looking forward to it. I do think Hibs will lose this one. I think Aberdeen will just have a wee bit more physicality all over the pitch, and I think they'll probably take, 18 shots on target last week and not taking any doesn't give you any sort of hope going into this game, or give you sort of any indication that we might have a goal in us. Whereas I feel like Aberdeen could probably nick something. I feel like that big Ramirez boys maybe just got a wee bit about them. And obviously Lewis Ferguson's a good player as well. And I just look over our team and I just see holes everywhere. I just don't think the team's up to scratch. And I think a lot of them, I think there'll be a big shake-up during the summer, and I think a lot of them know that. So you'd think that would spur them on to have a good, stint, or the good sort of couple good performances leading up to the end of the season. But I haven't seen that from them pretty much all season, a lot of the players. So I don't know why this week would be any different, if I'm honest with you. I think it'll be pretty negative football. I think it'll be more of the same. I don't think it'll be very creative. I think there'll be any chances. So yeah, that's my thoughts, mate.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I think it's not going to be a nice game to watch, I don't think. To be honest, like Aberdeen, for them, they've obviously just want to salvage as high a league finish as they can, because a club like Aberdeen shouldn't be in the position they were in. A club the size of Aberdeen shouldn't be in the position they were in this season. So I think for Jim Goodwin, it's all about getting good results towards the end of the season so he can build on something for next season. And obviously Hibs and Aberdeen in the past, obviously it's a big fixture in the past, 2 big clubs. So I think for Aberdeen, they're going to want this more. struggled at Easter Road recently, so they're going to want a win. I think they're going to want it more than us. I mean, for our players, I think some of them are on their holidays already, to be honest. So they just don't care. And I think there's that.
Yeah, which is surprising.
I
Really
think, yeah,
surprising.
exactly like you said, that you think some players will be wanting to prove themselves so that they don't get the axe, because what happened with Mueller should be sending out the message that, I know that was sort of his decision as well, but it should be sending out the message that nobody's safe. You know, when a new manager comes in, there's going to be a massive rebuild. You know, you've got to prove that you deserve your place in the team, for me, and you should be using these games to do that. As much as they don't mean anything to the league position, you should be using them to try your best to prove to whoever the new manager is why you should be in the team. So I don't think anybody should be safe, to me. None of these players for me are safe in their positions, or hardly any of them for me. They need to prove that they deserve that, because the new manager's going to make new signings, obviously, to bring in the players that they want, and that's obviously going to replace some of the underperformers we've had this season, the underachievers we've had this season. So you should be using a big game like Aberdeen because even though it's no big in terms of circumstances, it's still two big clubs going head to head for me. So you've got to use that to prove that you're deserving of the jersey and deserving of a place in the team. For me, that's about it. But I think we're going to see an apathetic performance, and I think there's going to be a lot of apathy in the stands as well, to be honest. You know, I think a lot of the fans, and I know yourself and Charlie are included. I mean, I can't really be like this, but I know yourself and Charlie just don't care anymore. Essentially, I'm
I'm a bit bored with it, to be honest with you, mate. It's just it's been going with expectations and hope and just getting the same result every time, and it's boring now. And it's the same. I mean, Maloney, as much as he probably should have got a wee bit more time, like the football he was playing was just the same stuff week in, week out, and it was eye bleeding stuff. There was no results, there was no end product, no results, nobody's stepping up, and it's really difficult when it's something you care about so much. Like I care about Hibs so much, and I love Hibs so much, and I want Hibs to do well. And it's like people are wearing that jersey, and I seriously would question them. I would question. I mean, you've not got a hard job; you've got the best job in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You're going out on a Saturday to play football. Like, put in a shift, man. Is it really that hard to ask? Do you know what I mean? Be brave. Be brave on the ball. There's nobody in that team that's brave in the ball that can put their foot in the ball and, carry the ball forward 10, 15 yards and try and make a positive pass or try and have a shot. It's sideways and back the way and negative and half-hearted tackles, half-hearted attempts to win the ball. Nobody's standing up and taking accountability, but it's the same stuff we've been talking about for about 6 months, 7 months now. It's boring. Yeah. It's really boring. It just seems right now, this moment in time, just a really poorly run sports club. Yeah. Seems like a really, really poorly run sports club. And you know what? It might have to go through this sort of sticky patch. There's a wee episode 69 joke for you. Might have to go through this wee sticky patch so that we can come out the other side, and maybe a couple of years we'll look back and say, do you know what, like we might be able to take a step back and see the changes that have been implemented. But right now, it looks like a lot of hiring and firing, and it looks really poor on the board. Like, and I almost feel like we as fans have been lied to.
Yeah, I sort of get.
It feels very dishonest, and I feel like the relationship, it's like all showing you what they're doing with the left hand, but you've no idea what they're doing behind the back with the right hand. It seems very. I don't know. Just someone will think of the phrase. It's escaped my mind, but what are you going to add, mate?
So I was going to say is I think some of our greatest moments as a club have come out of adversity. So obviously when we won the League Cup in 1991, literally the year before, we could have went bust. Not Wallace Mercer tried to buy us out. When we won the League Cup in 2007, that was against a backdrop of a lot of like dissent in the dressing room against John Collins and everything. And then when we won the Scottish Cup in 2016, look at everything that had preceded that. The relegation, we'd bottled the playoffs, we bottled the League Cup final before that. So I think a lot of like big moments for us come out of that. Look at it. We had our best league season in 16 years last season, and that was in the middle of a pandemic. So I think our best moments come out of adversity. It's the most Hibs way of doing it, that you're going to make the fans tear their hair out, and then we'll go and have a good season. I'm not by any means. I think there's a lot needing done if we want to have a good season next season. And I agree with you that, and I've said this before, I'm trying to buy into the vision that Ron and Ben are selling, but I can't really do it. You know, like you said, we've been told one thing, and then we're not getting what we've been told. We get a version of it, but it's not what they promised. If you see what I mean, we only get like a version of what they
It's
promised.
getting hard to put 2 and 2 together, mate. I would say, like,
Yeah,
just what you're saying. We get a version of it.
we got a version of it. So moving on to obviously line up, you know, Sir David. For me, I'll get your thoughts in a minute, Kelvin. But for me, it's going to be. I just think it's going to be the same. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you do? What can you do with it? We've got the players we've got. You can maybe start Jasper and have his directness. I don't know. To me, I think the lineup's going to stay relatively the same because we've not got the players to drastically change it. I think I've got to say though, I think Del Ferrier, the young Belgian lad, I think he deserves a chance. You know, and I'm going to say that now that he's an exciting young player, and I've seen how well he was engaging with the fans at the open training session. Seen that on social media, and I think to me he gets the club, Del Ferrier, and I think if it's towards the end of the season, you've got to give the lad a chance. I think he's got that pedigree that he's come for having a good season with Standard Liège. He had a good start to his career at Standard Liège. He's come in here, he's regularly been in the Belgium youth setups. And unlike Rocky, he's got a bit more experience at playing at a higher level. Standard Liège is one of the best teams in Belgium. And he's actually like played first team football with them. Whilst Rocky played some first team football with a middling side in Belgium, then went to Norwich and got stuck in the Premier League B with their under 23s. So I think Del Ferrier actually has more experience. And also I think Runar Hauge deserves a shot as well. I think anytime I've watched Hauge, I've liked the look of him, but I don't think we're going to see that. But I'd like to see that because at the end of the day, it's nearly the end of the season. You've just got to give these lads a chance. Like Hauge has got bags and bags of potential. I think Hauge's a more exciting player than Melkerson, if I'm being honest. I've seen more out of Hauge than I have for Melkerson. Okay, Melkerson scored those goals against Motherwell, but I think I've seen more out. I like Hauge's work rate. I like how Hauge's more physical. Melkerson gets bullied, whilst Hauge, and that's the thing I've got to say is I think Melkerson will get bullied by Aberdeen.
Right.
Whilst Hauge isn't afraid to get stuck in. Saw it against Dundee. Saw it when he came on against St Johnstone. He's not afraid to get stuck in and just sort of get involved in the game and make those nasty tackles or get involved in those physical situations. So I'd like to see Hauge and De Ferrier get a chance because they're two young lads that I think have got huge futures. And you just a big game like or a big club like Aberdeen. That's the perfect test for them, I think. So I'd like to see those two lads get a chance, but I don't think Sir David will drastically change the lineup up because he can't. He's not really got room for manoeuvre in that. So what are your views on the sort of lineup situation?
Yeah, I like your point about Hauge. I'd like to see Hauge. I think Hauge's got a lot of energy about him.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, he's really energetic, and I wonder. You know, my dad used to always say whenever Zumama and Benji were on the pitch at the same time, they made each other better, just with that sort of understanding. I wonder if he'd maybe make Melkerson better. And you know what? He looks like the type of player, like I was just saying earlier, you know, we've not really got anyone that can put their foot on the ball and try and drive forward and make things happen. He seems like a really positive player. He seems like he needs to be reined in a wee bit, like some of his tackling and that. And I think it was introduction, was it Motherwell away we were or something? He was a little bit course with his tackling and things like that. So he'd need to rein that in because going by our discipline this year, it's not been great. But I don't know much about the Del Fair guy.
That's more the football nerd than me coming out that I'd actually seen him for Standard Liège before. And
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes sense, mate, because if we've got these players here, and Hibs are quite notorious for having players in the squad, but never ever using them, never utilising them. Like I'd quite like to see him. That would be good. That'd be really good. But the team, I think what he's got just to see the season out. He knows we're safe, and I think that's where he'll keep it. I don't really see much room for the likes of Connor Young or anything like that. Any of the young guys coming in. I just don't think we'll do it. I just don't think we'll do it.
Nah, the other thing is they've got a league title to be focusing on winning. The under 18s, if they win 2 more games, I think it is, they could win the league. So I think if I was that young lad, it's get sat on the bench against a game that the senior team are probably going to lose, or start in a game that could potentially win as a trophy with the under-18s, I think I know what I'd be choosing if I was your Connor Young or your, so I definitely think
Absolutely.
I think David knows that as well, because David works very closely with Steve Keane in the academy setup, and I think he knows that those young lads want to focus on that league title, and so they should. They've put in an amazing shift in the under-18s league, and I think they win that league. That could be detrimental to their league campaign if you start taking lads out to make up the numbers for a senior match.
I think you're right.
So I'd leave them to focus on the league. I wouldn't touch them because I've got a league title to contend for. And I just think it's too late in the season to be giving these young lads a chance. Well, you give them a chance like the League Cup group stages at the start of next season for my money. So that brings us to our end of our sort of segment discussing the men's game. So Calvin, I'll very quickly get a score prediction from you.
Mate, I'd have to say 1 or 2-0 Aberdeen. I don't feel confident at all. I'll say 1-0 Aberdeen.
And before I get mine out the way, Charlie's sent in his score prediction. He said 2-0 Aberdeen. I'm going to go and say it's going to be a boring 0-0 because I think Aberdeen have struggled for goals this season as well. So I think it'll be a 0-0. We'll cancel each other out and it'll be a 0-0 draw. So we'll now move on to the second of our Aberdeen games this weekend. Of course, Hibs women are taking on Aberdeen after a somewhat disappointing draw against bottom of the league Hamilton. Our record against Aberdeen women this season is we've played them 3 times, we've beat them twice, and we've lost once. So we beat them 1-0 in the league at home, we beat them 2-0 away in the League Cup quarter final, and then we lost 1-0 away in the league the last time we played them. I think in terms, Calvin, I'll get your thoughts first. In terms of a game, do you think this is the one the girls should be winning confidently, or do you think they'll struggle after a sort of patchy form? We had that 5-0 loss to Rangers, we then lost to Partick Thistle in the Cup, and then we've just dropped 2 points against Hamilton as well. And the race for 40, we could, if we drop more points, end up in 5th. So do you think this is a game that Aberdeen, because Aberdeen are behind us in 5th right now, so this is sort of an important one. Do you think we'll struggle, or do you think we'll put on a performance against Aberdeen?
It's quite a hard question, mate, because the women's team have been so sort of flaky this year. It's the games that you think they'll probably struggle in, like maybe the semi-final against Celtic and things that they've actually done really well in. So it's kind of hard to call. I feel like it's definitely a game that the women should be winning, especially if they're looking to build upon, have a better season next year. They should be building towards that. So of course they should be winning this game without question. But they've slipped up a few times this year. However, I think they should have enough to see it out, and hopefully, Dean making the moves to bring in girls from further afield and players from sort of different countries will make people want to actually fight for their position. So that's my sort of thoughts, mate. What's your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a difficult game. Obviously, like when we played Aberdeen the 3 times before, they've all been tight games, and I think we really, really struggled against them in that game. We lost. And they're a good side, Aberdeen. They came up as league champions from the SWPL2, and they've had a really, really good season. They've taken points off the sort of top clubs, and they've been not an easy team to play at all. And I think when you're considering a newly promoted side, them finishing 5th's not bad at all. Or them sitting
it's really good.
Not bad at all for that newly promoted team. And they've got a lot of good players. Obviously, we've got Jenna Penman from there, so they've got a good sort of mix of youth and experience in the squad at Aberdeen. They've got a really good manager as well, Hunter. And I think they've been really, really solid. Aberdeen are a hard team to break down. And I just don't think we do too well against teams like that. So if it's a team that's quite open, like Spartans, or even though we've been beat by Celtic, we actually, some of our best performances have come against Celtic, even though we've lost against them. We're good with a team that likes to be open and attack. Teams that like to sort of stay back and keep solid, we seem to struggle against. We struggle against these physical sides. I mean, the only team we have a complete set of wins against this season in the league is Hearts, there's an interesting start for you. That's the only team we have a complete set of wins against in the league. So played them 3 times and we beat them 3 times, which is feeds into natural order, obviously. But I think that's it. Teams like Hearts and Celtic and Spartans that try and be more open with the ball. And then obviously we do well against 2nd and 3rd division teams. We've been hitting double figures past some of them in the cups. But I think for me, it's going to be a tough game. Aberdeen are like a really, really solid, compact unit as a side, and they've also got quite a bit of attacking threat. So it's going to be difficult for us. But I think the girls can do it. I think the games that I always think, oh, is this going to be the game that we sort of struggle against? You know what I mean? If it's is this going to be the game where we struggle and we tend to do really well? And like, remember when we went to the Motherwell game and I sat and said this is going to be a difficult game. We're 4-0 up at half time and ended up winning 7-0. I think it's going to be like that. I'm going to go Aberdeen are going to make it really difficult for us and we'll end up absolutely hammering them. That's just what we're like. But I think we have been inconsistent this season. We'll go from beating Motherwell 7-0 one week to then losing to Partick Thistle in the cup the next week. You see what I mean?
That's why it's so hard to call me. That's why I'm
exactly.
struggling to try to think what I'm going to see, because I have no idea what we're going to see for the girls, to be honest with you.
Exactly. It's a game that could genuinely go either way. I think it could either be we'll put in the performance of a lifetime and we'll end up winning big like we did against Motherwell, or we'll sort of stutter to a scrappy win like 1 or 2-0, or Aberdeen will win. I think that's the way it's going to go, but it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a game we should win. On paper, we should win. But after that Hamilton game, you look at it and some of our frailties are showed, and I agree with you, with these new players coming in, again, a bit like the men's team, players have got to be fighting for their spaces in the squad. The other thing is it's not just that, there's professional contracts up for grabs as well. You know, it's not just it's not just you've got a place to earn in the squad, it's you've got there's potentially a contract going to be on the table for you. If you perform well, you're going to actually get onto a professional contract. So I think for a lot of the girls, there's a lot to prove. And for the girls that have signed contracts as well, they've got to put in their performances to prove that they're worthy of that, if you see what I mean. So I think it's going to be interesting. So very briefly, Calvin, what do you think Dean's going to do lineup-wise?
I think he'll stick with pretty much what he's done all year. I think maybe the thing he's changed most has probably been the goalkeepers this year, but I think we'll see pretty much the same as we did last year. I think, last game, I think it'll be English and goals. And then from there on out, I think it'll be more the same, just same 11, mate.
Yeah, for me, what sort of frustrated me was Emily got put in for the Partick game and kept a clean sheet and had a fantastic game. And anytime Emily's been called in, she's been brilliant, I think. And then we brought Gabby back for the Hamilton game, and the equaliser was her. Their equaliser was her fault directly. So I think you give Emily a chance. She was going towards the end of the season. The girl's a good young goalkeeper, and goalkeepers don't hit their peak. You know, I'm going to say this now. One of the best women's goalkeepers in world football, Almut Schultz, the old Germany goalkeeper, she's approaching retirement now. She didn't hit her peak until she was in her early 30s. And Emily's only about 21, 22, so she's got years and years and years of her career. You've got to develop a young goalkeeper. You've got to play them to develop them. So I'd like to see Emily. I think Ailey picked up a knock against Partick, so she still might be out.
Right.
I don't think I'd start Rosie because she struggled. She did end up coming into the game, but I don't think starting a young player against a team like Aberdeen, who are very physical and are very well drilled, would be the most sensible choice. I think bring Rosie off the bench by all means and sort of use her as an impact sub. I think I'd start Kirsty Morrison. I'd like to see Ria be given an opportunity. No, in fact, Ria's can't play in that game. I think midfield, your usual Shannon McGregor, Mickey. So really, I think the only change I'd make is Kirsty Morrison over Rosie, because I don't think Ailey is maybe quite recovered to that knock, and I don't think Joelle's got a full 90 in her anymore, by what I've seen. So I think it'll probably be Ellis and Shiv as your sort of back, your two centre halves, with Leah, Eddie playing in defensive midfield, sort of in front of them, protecting them, which I think Leah's sort of grown into that role really, really well, because Leah's good at driving forward. So I'm a bit like a Marvin Bartley figure in the team, I think, now, in terms of where she sort of sits in the pitch and what she does. So I think that's it. Lineup-wise, I don't see many drastic reasons, but I'd like to see Emily and Kirsty come in to replace Gabby and Rosie. But yeah, that's it for me, lineup-wise. So very briefly, Calvin, I'll get a score prediction from you.
1-1.
1-1. Well, that's the same as Charlie. Charlie sent in his
score. Did he?
1-1. So I'm going to say 2-0 Hibs, and I'm going to say it's Alexa and Kavanagh to get the goals. So we'll now move on to my Hibs quiz. So Calvin, I'll be testing your knowledge. Are you ready?
Aye.
Right.
I can't believe it just because of 2 years, but let's do it. I'll try my best.
Right, let's do it. Okay, so we'll see how many you can get right. Number 1, what was the final score on aggregate when Hibs beat Faroese side NSI Rinovic in the 2018 Europa League qualifying? Just a guess.
Oh, Christ.
You might want to be quick because the meeting time's running out.
Right, Rinovic. That was a Croatian team. That the one we brought them back to Easter Road. I'm going to say, was it like 8-6 or something?
It was 12-5 to Hibs.
I'm thinking of am I thinking of
Rinovic, not
Polish, which we
Rijeka,
were closer?
Rinovic, the Faroese team.
No. I remember. I remember we spanked one of them, but I was thinking of the team that we brought back. Went behind it again. We came back to win it.
Yeah, that was Asteris Tripolis.
Tripolis, that's what I was thinking.
So Rinovic, we beat them 6-1 at Easter Road and we beat them 6-4 in the Faroe Islands.
Aye, that's right. Aye, that
was the game of the mad fog. So, question number 2. How many leagues, so you're currently on 0 points. How many League Cup finals have Hibs been to? Is it A, 7, B, 11 or C, 15?
11.
You're correct. So you got 1 point.
We got 1.
League Cup finals, of which we've won 3. So
such a bad record, eh?
That's even worse than the Scottish Cup.
Must be the worst record in
3,
sports, man.
Last of the men's questions. Who did Hibs reserves beat to lift the 2018 Scottish Youth Cup? Was it A, Dundee United, B, Celtic, or C, Aberdeen?
Celtic.
I can reveal you're wrong. We beat Aberdeen 3-1 in the final, and a certain Mr. Ryan Porteous.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that on YouTube. Actually, you're right.
Certain Mr. Ryan Porteous scored in that game, and I think he was the captain as well. So there we go. Now, so you've got currently 1 point heading into the women's questions. So, which club did we sign Rachel Boyle from in 2016? Is it A, Aberdeen, B, St Johnstone, or C, Forfar Farmington?
Aberdeen.
You are correct. We signed Rachel Boyle from Aberdeen in 2016. So you've got 2 points. Next question. So, question number 5. Joel Murray's only international goal came in a friendly at Forth Bank Stadium. Who were the opponents? Was it A, Germany, B, Northern Ireland, or C, Denmark?
I'll say Northern Ireland.
What a guess. Well done. You are correct.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought I didn't think the other two would come all the way to, would you say, Forth Bank Stadium? So Northern Ireland probably might. That's literally just I stab in the dark there, mate.
So if we played a big team like Germany or Denmark, it would probably been like Easter Road or Time.
Aye, that's what I thought it might have been. Yeah.
Not at Forth Bank. So beat Northern Ireland in that friendly. I think it was 3-0, and Joelle scored her second goal. So that's her only Scotland goal. Which, to be fair, for a defender, it's no bad getting an international goal. Which year? I think it was 20.
No, I said that was good, mate. I said that was good. Aye.
Right, good. Aye, that is good. Right, that's miscommunication.
No, it's your quiz, mate. I'm not asking the questions.
Right, so question number 6, and the final question. You've got 2 out of 5 so far. What city in Florida is Gabby English from?
Orlando.
You're wrong. It's Miami. Gabby's from Miami. She
You're
played
right.
for Orlando.
She played for a Miami team, didn't she, for a while? She started out with a Miami team, and I couldn't quite say the name, but yeah, that does ring a bell.
Gabby's from Miami.
16. That's a good result, is it? No, wait. What was the final score?
Final score was 3 out of 6.
6 questions, 2 right. That'll do me. Hibs 8F.
50% average, like Hibs.
Aye, poor man. That was poor.
So that was our usual little midweek episode. You'll be able to join us on Monday as we discuss the results from that double header against Aberdeen. And until next time, folks, glory to the Hibs.